Hello and welcome to an update on my June budget. We're halfway through the month, so let's see how much we've spent so far. We've already received one paycheck each, one for me and one for my husband, but we've paid a majority of our bills. So first of all, we do a zero-based budget. And that just means that every single dollar has a job to do, and at the end of the month, we don't want any dollars that aren't working for us. So we typically move those all into savings after we've covered all of our expenses. Because if we have any money just floating around, we may be more likely to spend it. So let's start with our income. I budget off of my gross income, which is my entire paycheck before taxes or anything else comes out of it. So I record all of our taxes and all of the other deductions that come out as well. I don't do this for my husband's paycheck just because I don't see his pay stubs, and so it's a lot easier to just budget off of what hits our bank account and not track all of his taxes, all of his retirement contributions, all of that, and also his own personal spending money. So the way that works for us is for each of us to contribute 85% of our pay to joint expenses. His goes straight into the joint account where a lot of our bills are paid. I have to manually move it just because my workplace wouldn't let me contribute to that specific bank that we have our joint account in. But there are also some expenses that come out of my account. For example, daycare, I've always been paying from my own account just because it's the only account that has checks, and Zelle, because I've been with the previous daycare, I was paying with Zelle, and now with the new daycare, we have to pay with a check. So there are some joint expenses that come out of my account. So my entire paycheck goes into my account, and then I manually transfer all of the 85% minus the joint expenses into the joint account as needed. So with just one paycheck so far this month, that was $5,230.47 before taxes for me, and for my husband it was $2,831.81. For interest so far this month, we've only received 7 cents, and this was in one of my savings accounts that I don't hold very much money in. We keep most of our savings in a high yield savings account where we usually earn over $30 in interest, but that doesn't come in till the end of the month. This other account pays in the middle of the month, and that was just 7 cents. For rewards, we had credit card rewards redeemed. These are auto redeemed. Every time we meet the $25 threshold, it auto redeems it. So that was $25 redeemed at the beginning of the month. And we just earn 1.5% cash back on all of our purchases. We don't do anything crazy with our credit cards. We do pay for everything with our credit cards, just for the rewards points, but we pay them off in full at the end of every month. So we never carry a balance, we never pay any interest, and about once a month we get $25. We didn't receive any other income this month in rewards or other, and we weren't really expecting to, but could still happen. So now moving on to savings, I have my 403B. This is my retirement account with my workplace, and this comes out with every paycheck. So since I've gotten paid once, I've contributed $209.22 to that. I haven't contributed to our daughter's 529 yet. That will probably be next week is typically when we do it. I do a manual transfer for that, but I could probably set up automatic transfers. For Acorns, this is my after-tax brokerage account. I just contribute $5 a month automatically, and then the roundups whenever those happened, and just last week we had a roundup, and that was $5.13. So on top of the $5 that I automatically transfer every month, that was $10.13 contributed to my after-tax brokerage account. I'm not really focusing on this savings goal just because we're really focusing on paying down debt. And we didn't have any goals, any other savings goals so far this month. Everything was maxed out this year, so we didn't need to contribute to any of the Roths or the HSA. So now moving on to our expenses. As I mentioned, because I budget off of my gross paycheck, my taxes are showing up here. I paid $1,403.29 in taxes on my first paycheck. I estimate that I pay about 27% in taxes, and that's been pretty accurate. I have a couple of pre-tax deductions that I'll get into, and then I think the life insurance is post-tax. So $3.47 also comes out of my paycheck automatically post-tax. For car insurance, we pay $220 a month. So that came out, it always gets charged on the first of the month right to my credit card. We haven't paid utilities yet. That should be coming out very, very soon, if it's not coming out like the day that I post this video. Internet, that always comes out at the beginning of the month as well. That's $34.99, and that's just for basic internet. We don't pay for TV or any streaming services or anything like that. Daycare was a pretty big expense this month. We switched our daughter's daycare on the first of the month, or the second actually, and I thought we would just be paying for June, for the June month, but the way that they do their billing, it's from mid-month to mid-month. So we paid from the beginning of June to the middle of June, and then we paid from the middle of June through the middle of July. So that's the amount that you see here. The $2,013 was for a month and a half of daycare. And then my Acorn subscription has not come out yet. That usually comes out at the very end of the month, and that's our only subscription. That's my after-tax brokerage account. Now moving on to our debts. We paid our mortgage at the beginning of the month. That was $2,630, and this includes escrow, which covers our property taxes and insurance. We didn't have to pay towards our truck anymore because we paid that off, I think, last month. And then my retirement account loan comes out of my paychecks, so that's an automatic deduction. I don't have to make those payments. That was $236.22 with my first paycheck, and then with my next paycheck, it will be the same amount. So we're halfway towards making those debt payments this month. And then for student loans, we pay $382, and that always comes out on like the 6th of the month. That's everything for our debt so far this month. We haven't paid any extra. We don't really plan to. I think we're planning on saving instead of paying down debt this month. And then we may use that savings just to pay down the debts at the end of the year if we haven't used it by the end of the summer for some renovations or something. Not really sure yet exactly if we're going to move forward with some renovations that we would really like to do, or if we are just going to wipe that loan out. We also have some home maintenance that we're hoping our home sinking fund will cover, but if it doesn't, it will be nice to have a little bit of a buffer in savings if it doesn't. So moving on to my sinking funds, we actually haven't funded any of these yet. I think I'd like to change this. Some of our funds are very negative, and they continue to be very negative after our spending, but I'm still funding the ones that don't need funded. So what's this, $80? We're going to clear those. We're not going to fund gifts, clothing and personal, travel, or restaurants this month like I had planned. We'll put all of those as zeros. We'll give our daughter $30 more for her sinking fund. We had to pay for daycare registration fees last month and some other things that she needed for starting her new daycare this month. So I'm going to bump that up to $50. We'll contribute that later in the month after our next paychecks, because I think we only had about $700 left after this paycheck, which is not enough to fund all of our sinking funds. So we should still have $50 left, and I'm going to put that in groceries because we just went way, way, way over in groceries last month. Last month we purchased the CSA which is community supported agriculture, where you pay upfront to receive vegetables all year long from your local farms. And so that was, I think, $980 upfront last month, so that we can continue to receive vegetables every single week. It was for 20 weeks, so I think it's through September. But that put our grocery budget really negative. Let's make sure that, yeah, we're still at zero up here. Everything's been accounted for. And so let's take a peek at our spending so far this month. As I mentioned, we went way over in groceries last month, and then this month we spent quite a lot as well. We placed an Azure standard order, which is where we buy a lot of our bulk goods, and like we buy a lot of dried beans and like nuts and seeds and grains and stuff there, because we can get it at a much cheaper price per pound than when we buy it at our local bulk food store. And everything is organic, so that's where we like to purchase most of our groceries, except for like vegetables and stuff. As I mentioned, we're getting those from the CSA this summer, but we also do purchase frozen ones and frozen fruit from the local grocery store. So we placed the Azure standard order, and we also stocked up on all of those frozen vegetables and fruits. Our daughter eats quite a bit of vegetables. They're probably her favorite foods, but she'll probably eat half a cup of vegetables with every single meal, which is quite a bit when because it all adds up. So far this month we spent $342.10 in groceries, which brought our negative grocery sinking fund even more negative. So even once we contribute the $850 towards that sinking fund, we're still going to remain negative for the month. But next month I plan to keep bumping up those sinking funds and not contributing to the ones that don't need it, just like I did a few minutes ago with shuffling those around. We haven't made any purchases in home maintenance, as I mentioned. Hopefully that fund being at $5,500 will cover the pool maintenance that we need done. We should be having the pool guy come out. He was supposed to come out about a week and a half ago, and he didn't, so we decided we're going to go with another pool guy. And just like the diagnostic test is going to be $150, and then the work to fix it can vary like wildly depending on what they need to do to seal the leak. If it's going to be like a huge rip up of all of the cement around the pool, or if they can just like pull out the plastic and replace it or seal it with some kind of sealant. For car and gas, we haven't purchased anything yet. I should be getting gas. I probably have gotten gas by the time you see this. I'm running low. I usually buy gas about once every 3 or 4 weeks, so it's usually once a month, sometimes twice a month. I drive a plug-in hybrid, and I was looking at my electric bill, and it estimates that I spend about $30 on electric for charging my car, and I spend about $30 on a tank of gas. So I think that's pretty good. I don't know that if I was driving an all-gas vehicle, if I would be filling up twice as much or not. It's been since 2018 since I stopped driving a fully gas vehicle. I bought my hybrid in 2018. For health, we haven't spent anything. This sinking fund is also very negative. We had quite a bit of doctor bills from last year that we were paying that I didn't really expect that we needed to pay. We have a high deductible health plan, so we pay quite a bit for doctor visits. For pets, we haven't spent anything on that yet. I need to take them to the vet. I think now that my schedule allows me to be off work on Wednesdays, I should be able to find time to take them to the vet. I just need to call, and I hope that our vet still sees rabbits. For our daughter, I mentioned we had a lot of things that we needed to buy to prepare her for daycare. Notably, they needed an emergency kit, and fortunately my husband had like everything that would have been the expensive things that she needed for the emergency kit, from like his camping gear from years ago. So we didn't have to purchase all of those things brand new, but some things that we had to purchase that were a little bit expensive were emergency meals for 4 servings of like freeze-dried food. It cost like $20. But I put that in her sinking fund, even though it's kind of groceries, but I don't know that we'll ever actually eat that food. And then we had to get her some disposable diapers for the emergency kit, and they asked for slippers, so we bought her some shoes that she could use like slippers, but then it turns out once we started at the daycare they didn't actually need slippers, so there's a lot of miscommunication with this daycare. They send out like a list, you absolutely need these things or you can't start, and then we show up with them and they're like, oh, you don't need that, and they send it back home. So a little bit frustrating, but she does have the emergency kit. I don't know that they even looked inside of it to make sure that we had everything that they asked for, but I doubt they did. So we probably could have gotten away with not buying all of these things, but I think that if there was ever an emergency, we would want her to have them. So we made sure that her emergency kit was stocked up, but we had to spend some money on that. In total, we spent $65.43 on her, and that was the only spending we did this month. But actually, we did make a purchase at Target, but we used a gift card. We used a gift card for some of this stuff, but we also used the gift card to purchase our niece's birthday present, just because we had the gift cards. So technically, about $25 of the Target purchase was a gift for our niece. So I could probably take about $25 from the baby spending and put it and use the gift spending for that, which probably would be a good idea because our gift sinking fund is pretty well funded, whereas our baby one isn't anymore. But that's just the way I recorded things. And all of these sinking funds are kept in one single account, so it's not like any of them are actually negative. It's just for documentation's sake. But I guess that's everything for our spending for this update. Just groceries and baby purchases so far this month. We're not really big spenders. We're trying to do a low buy year, but we're also just naturally not really big spenders anymore, especially because we're focusing really heavily on paying off our debts. That's very important to us. And there's not really anything that we actually need. We do like to be really mindful of our purchases and try not to bring too many things into our home. Our home is cluttered enough with all of our daughter's toys and stuff, and most of those she gets as kind of hand-me-downs from my nieces, and sometimes we pick her up a thing or two from the thrift store. We have library books everywhere. We need to go gather those up before we go to the library this weekend. They're just always everywhere, mixed in with her books, so we have to go through every single week and make sure we get the right books returned to the right library, because we also go to 2 different county libraries because we're like right on the line between 2 counties. And so we have library books from both counties, plus we have our own personal books, and so we have to go through and straighten them up every single week to make sure everything gets returned where it belongs. But our daughter loves reading books, so that's really what we have the most of, cluttering up our house. She's not really a huge fan of very many toys, so we don't need to purchase anything really for her for that reason, which is really nice. It saves us money and saves us from creating more waste, because she'll only be playing with those toys for probably a couple of months. But that's everything for my update. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I would love to know how your June is going. Let me know if you have any vacations planned for the summer. I would love to get away, but we are way too busy for that right now. Maybe in a couple of years when our daughter is older, it'll be a little bit easier to get away for a bit. bring her with us to the beach. I would love to take her to a beach. I think she would love the sand. We have been swimming in the pool a little bit. Even though it has that leak, it's still functional. It's just I have to do a lot of manual cleaning instead of the automatic cleaning it should be doing. But thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in seeing more of our family's journey as we work towards paying off our debt and saving for an early retirement or work optional, then please hit subscribe because I would love to have you follow along. Thank you for being here.